It's March 1998. You've just got your copy of White Dwarf and there's a free gift. My name's John and you're watching Wargames, Models and Other Hobbies. Hello and welcome back to another video. Something slightly different, a bit of hobby nostalgia today, a little bit of hobby history. As I said in the intro, March 1998 we had White Dwarf 219. And in that we got a free gift, and that was Warhammer Monthly issue 0. Now Warhammer Monthly was a monthly comic book released by Games Workshop, published by Black Library. It ran for a total of 86 issues. They're quite difficult to come by now. They do appear on eBay, but they are quite expensive for what they are. I just want to run through issue 0 just so you can have a look at exactly what it was all about. So first thing, let's have a little look at the cover. So here we have an orc with a squig fighting a Chaos Space Marine there. Looks like they're in Terminator armour with the Storm Bolter and a Power Fist. And really like this cover, really quite dynamic. And yeah, on the back cover we have a preview of issue 1, but let's jump straight in and have a look. Now I'm not going to run through everything in great detail, but if you want to you can pause the video, zoom in, have a look at some of the artwork and so on. So in this sample issue it wanted to give a taster of what the comic was all about. Now this was back in the late 90s. Games Workshop was having a look at different ways to kind of get its IP out there. We already had Inferno, we've got Black Library with all the different books and everything like that. We lots of things, lots of specialist games as well. Probably the best time for specialist games, things like Necromunda, Gorka Morka, Mordheim, Epic, loads of stuff. But here is the comic. Now, I really liked this comic when it came out. Back then it was quite nostalgic anyway, with the way that it was released, with the artwork and the paper style and things like this. Obviously this is nearly 30 years old now, but well, 28 years old, and there's a bit of yellowing on the paper and everything, but there was something about the feel of newsprint paper with just black and white artwork on that I really liked, and I still do. It's no way near as fancy as comics we get nowadays. I personally prefer trade paperbacks, but I still do like these individual comics. So if we have a quick run through of what we've got in here. So the first story in here was called The Bridge, script by Dan Abnett, the art was Simon Colby, and all of the text was by David Pugh. So let's just turn this so you can have a little look, and you should be able to zoom in and have a look at the artwork on this, and if you want to, have a read of the comic. But I really like the kind of the variation in the artworks as well from the different stories. So as we continue through, there we go. We've got a full story as an intro with the bridge, and then it goes to some previews. So here we have a little bit about coming up, what's coming up in the Warhammer Monthly, and then we've got a little introduction to Darkblade, the Dark Elf. Really enjoyed that storyline. Now you can still have a look at these. If you search for Warhammer Monthly PDF, you can find archives that do have them. Black Library for a couple of years had them all on an archive website. Unfortunately it got taken down, but you could access all the PDFs for all of these. So the ones that I don't own myself, I do have the PDFs, so I have had a look at all of them. Blood Quest, this was one of my favourite storylines. I've got the trade paperbacks of the full story of Blood Quest. I think it's 3 parts in total, but a really interesting one, that one. Shadowfast, can't remember too much about this one to be honest, but I think it was about a wood elf. Correct me if I'm wrong. I might have to have a look back at the comics that I've got to have a reread of it to see what it was all about. Predator and Prey, that was a one-off story which continued in the first issue. And then we've got Titan, another one of my favourite storylines about a warlord Titan and its crew as it walked through the battlefields, and really great stories, that one. We then got Grundhelm's Grudge, Thorgrim Grundhelm, a Warhammer Old World setting story about a dwarf. We have our subscription details. For the price of £22, you could have a whole year's worth of Warhammer Monthly. I did do that for a few years, and I still have my copies. If you do want to see any other copies of this, or have a bit more information about it, please drop a comment down below. I'd be quite happy to do some other videos about this, or have a look at a few of the other issues. So this is the Summoning. Again, a different style of artwork that I really like. It's this jumping between different styles that I really liked. Having the different artists working in each issue, I really liked. And there we have the end of that Summoning. Distinctive vampire imagery there. And then, as I said before, on the back we have issue 1 there of Warhammer Monthly. But yeah, there's a little dive into the past there. If you're unfamiliar with it, like I said, have a look for the PDFs online. It is worth having a look at. And if you find any good copies on eBay, let me know, and I'll see if I can get them to complete my collection. But yeah, apart from that, something different for today. I hope you enjoyed it. But for now, my name's John, and you've been watching Wargames, Models, and Other Hobbies.